welcome to the LHC. Name of your sex tape.
I've actually been doing title of your sex tape to my wife, and it's incredibly irritating to everyone around you. It's fantastic.
It can. That's kind of interesting. Oh, go on.
No, I was going to say, you can do it to everything. Like, a mutual friend of ours was up staying a couple of weeks ago, and I was doing that all evening, and virtually everything they said could be done as a title of your sex tape sort of moment.
I think that's the point of that joke. Yeah, the title of your sex tape joke started off as like just a nasty thing for Peralta to do that was kind of jerkish, and then as we're hopefully going to discuss, the whole idea of positivity with that show changed, and it decided that it was going to be like a fundamentally positive show about a load of people who got on well with each other. It turned into something that everyone as a group does. Yeah.
But it's still fun.
Mm. Well, yeah, no, it should be still fun. But the point is, it actually came from like kind of a creepy place. Because if you, I like to sort of plot a lot of the themes of the show by how Jake Peralta acts, because he seems to be like one of the central characters that dictates a lot of the feelings of the show. And he started off as a real jerk, if you think about it.
Well, he started off doing that to
basically to harass.
Basically harass, yeah, to harass her. Sorry, I can't remember her name.
You can't. We're here
I say her because I know I.
Rosa Diaz. No, Amy Santiago.
Diaz, Amy
Santiago,
yes.
Played by Melissa Fumero.
I should have known that one. I'm going to get the characters up so that doesn't happen again. But yeah, he does start off just doing that to be horrible to her.
He does a lot of stuff that's really nasty to Amy.
Well, yeah, because most of the first couple of series is about their like rivalry. Because it's your classic, he's really lax but gets results, and she's by the book but also gets results. So, yeah. I mean, it's if only one of them was a dog, this would be the much more traditional buddy cop thing.
Are you comparing this to Turner and Hooch?
There are lots of man is partnered with a dog on the police force films and TV shows.
There are the ones, yes.
There are a lot. It's one of my wife's kind of things.
Oh,
so
do you watch?
Absolutely.
If your wife, so if Holly likes this, has she ever watched Bonetti and Bonetti and something else with the dog that talks, but only to the audience?
Oh no. She will refuse to watch anything where the dog talks. The dog should not talk. In her opinion,
the dog doesn't
films
talk
with the dogs in it.
Okay, but the dog doesn't talk like to the people. The dog just talks like in the dog's own head.
No, I don't think so. We did watch a series that did that though a couple of years ago. It had like one run. It was quite good, but it got cancelled.
That does sound like Bonetti and I forgot his name.
I just remember that I was watching the episodes series at the same time, and they were constantly, because you know that thing in episodes where they're like, how is the Talking Dogs show doing so well? Downward Dog, that was it. It was a lonely dog. So it was the dog who thought its owner should spend its her entire time with the dog, and then she then didn't. She wanted to have a life and a relationship. And the dog just constantly went on. It was basically about a depressed dog. So I really quite liked it, actually. It was pretty good. But I think it only had one season in 2017.
There was another one that only I think had one or two episodes, which was, I'm trying to think of another time another character the actor played, but it's a detective. He gets killed and he's reincarnated as a dog. And this time the dog is a puppet and does talk to his ex-partner. So he teams up with his ex-partner as a talking dog.
I don't know, I think if you're going to do that, just stick to Randall and Hopkirk deceased.
Yes. It's Randall and Hopkirk deceased, but
he's a dog.
But he's a dog.
Instead of a ghost.
Instead of a ghost, yeah. Again, that was another one that had a much nicer remake.
What, Randall and Hopkirk?
Yeah.
Oh, I did like that, yeah.
Yeah, because you've got the remake, haven't you?
I do. I liked the original series as well, but I prefer the remake. I've got all the DVDs of it. Actually, I should rewatch that. I haven't seen that for years and years.
Well, it helped because it was Bob Mortimer and is it the guy?
Who Reeves?
Yeah, Vic Reeves
and Bob Mortimer.
Vic Reeves and Bob
both of whom I really like.
Yeah, and they're good. They've got a good partner dynamic, so it works really well.
Speaking of good partner dynamics,
oh yeah, that's essentially what all of an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine became based on, or is essentially based on, is everyone pairs off and has a load of bit stories, generally.
Yeah, because most of these things you'd end up with, this is my partner and I, we do things to do the crime. We solve the crime things, we're partners. And that's what you stick with. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I don't know how it is in actual police precincts, but they just all pair up. It is actually only Hitchcock and Scully that are ever actually remaining with each other as partners for everything, and that's largely because no one wants to work with them.
Yeah.
But everybody else, like, he works sometimes with all of the other characters apart from those two.
Well, yeah, if we're going from the point of view of the Jake Peralta character played by Andy Samberg. But yeah, but again, that was something that came out later. It started off where Jake was pretty much linked to Charles all the time, Joe Lutrigo.
Yeah. And wasn't Amy with Diaz?
Yeah, Amy was with Rosa, and it was kind of like that. But mainly that was because the focus was mostly on Jake, so it wasn't really nailed down. But eventually they realised, oh no, we're going to change it. And because sometimes there were plenty of ones where a character, there will be more than two characters involved, but you can tell that one of them is taking a side thing to it. An early episode where Charles is the primary detective on a case, but Jake won't let him be the primary detective, and everything. And Rosa is also there, but she's just there as like a Greek chorus to sort of say, "You're acting like a jerk, Jake. You've got to let Charles be the primary." Yeah. And then later, as they move on and move, further on in the case, Rosa is just sort of there. But it's mostly Jake and Charles and their relationship. But yeah, like I said, it moved on. So Jake sort of starts off as this kind of cocky jerk who is sort of like the kind of trying to have their cake and eat it, where you have this a supposedly really competent police officer, but at the same time he's really sort of, what's the word? He's really bad with his own money. He's slovenly. He's disorganized. All these things that really should get in the way of him being a police officer actually don't cause any issues, it seems.
I think if he hadn't have changed, he'd have ended up being
insufferable.
The police officer. Well, yes, but also the police officer from Beyond Human.
Yeah.
Well, explain it for capable, people. But I'm angry and drunk and have a dog.
Oh, you're saying? Sorry, I thought you meant a TV show. So you meant Detroit Beyond. Become human, not Beyond Human.
I get it wrong every time.
Well, no, because they all merge together, and of course there was Beyond Two Souls.
Become Human.
Yeah, you're thinking of. That's a good example. Except he's all right. He knows what he does and everything. But yeah, he's
he's a really capable cop, but whose personal life is an absolute mess.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, he is incredibly like that. Now that you say it.
Yeah, and his place is a tip. He's always drunk, and he never turns up on time. But if he actually manages to get to a crime scene, he's like, "Well, obviously this is the case, and we've solved it."
Oh yeah, it is brilliant. I saw Loading Ready Run recently did a live stream of Detroit Become Human. Sadly, not like the one I'd advise you to watch first if you wanted to watch, not play the game and just watch Let's Plays of it, which I highly advise you do. Don't give Luke Cage any more money. But
I don't. I just borrow it off you because you've given him money.
Exactly. It was fun though to watch two people who literally had no time to sort of grapple with anything David Cage tried to put in front of them. Like when David Cage comes to like someone like me and tries to put forward something, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, David. I know what kind of weirdo you are, so I'm going to run it like this. Oh, look, everything worked out fine. What a shock. Oh, well, thank you for another pretty but ultimately meaningless game." But they, literally will not. And they're sort of like, no! As they play the game, they will not engage with it. Sadly, that does lead to certain points, because that certain problems, because of course that just means that certain scenes just end early because they just don't sort of clock on what the game needs them to do quickly enough. And
that happened to me in Fahrenheit a fair bit. Like, I was playing Fahrenheit, and you spend quite a bit of Fahrenheit playing as a character who is on the run from the police. And I was just sort of going, okay, so you walk in. I remember there was one where he like walks into a park, and your character has a vision because he can see the future occasionally. And there's a vision of a kid drowning. He's like, oh, but there are those police over there. I want to stop the kid from drowning, but the police are over there. So I left.
Yeah.
I just let the kid drown. And apparently you're not meant to do that. And there were loads of times where you were meant to, like, use your powers to try and help people whilst also remaining on the run. And I was like, no, because I'm on the run. Why would I go into the place where I can see that there are police officers looking for me? I'm leaving. I just go.
You see, the fact that you've got different people who can do stuff like that, I know, we've gone off topic, but who cares? It would make David Cage go, look what a brilliant game that I have made. But I'm sort of like, I've seen when people do what you don't want them to do, David. And it's like, that you just slap together some random thing and cut the thing short and move it along, and like flags don't get raised or whatever. And it's like,
that's exactly what annoys me.
I know that I play the game the way you want me to play it, because I get this full, big, long, like 5-hour crappy drama that you've written. And it's like, I go online and I check all the other possibilities, and it's all shorter and dumber. And it's like, you clearly have like a story you want to tell, and you really are irritated that you have to involve the player in any way.
It's like, it really is stupid, because it is a choose your own adventure where every time you try and make a choice, you've either made the right choice and the game continues, or the wrong choice and you die horribly. I mean, it's so railed sometimes, and it's just a case of, so you're on the rails, but the difference is, will you get handed an ice cream or an ice lolly later on when you're in the warm and you need something to cool you down?
Yes.
You go, really? That's the entire... All my decision-making has led to that. Yeah, just this minor change. Or alternatively, you might be too hot and then you just die of heat stroke. Oh, and then your game just cuts to the end. The end.
Exactly.
So Raymond Holt's great.
Yeah, Raymond Holt. Here's the thing, because I was torn between also wanting to say, like, we need to talk about the characters, but I guess if people are listening to this, they do know, we're going to talk about the characters, but they do know, basically, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, if they're coming to listen to this. So I just wanted to say, can you imagine how awesome a David Cage game version of Brooklyn Nine-Nine would be? Get David Cage in, mocap all the characters from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and have them solve a mystery that turns out to be an ancient mystical cult of people in the Pentagon who research ghosts, and the ghosts are being put into robots.
I would absolutely love to see Raymond Holt just not accept that as an explanation. That would be ridiculous.
Because of how
Raymond just walk away.
Yeah, because of how Raymond Holt works. Yeah, you'd believe that eventually Raymond Holt would just go, "No, this is ridiculous. I'm not playing any part in this anymore." And he just walks off.
Just leave.
And then like David Cage, because David Cage appears like at the beginning of Fahrenheit and occasionally in like the demos. So I just love the idea of David Cage just coming, "Oh, come on, Raymond, don't you want to?" And then he just clocks him in the face.
No, I just like the idea is like, and then Peralta's like, oh my god, it's like ninjas and a cult, and there are robots, and look at this, and look at that. And Raymond just goes, no, clearly, and he just pulls this curtain aside. There's a man behind the curtain, and then he just arrests Cage and then walks off to themselves.
No, you don't understand. I have the emotions. I am the Wizard of Oz. No, you're arrested.
Actually, I would love that as a spin-off from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, is that some weird science experiment accidentally sends Raymond Holt to other shows.
And Raymond Holt just solves everything.
Yeah, like Raymond Holt just ends up in Supernatural or something, and they're like, I think this one's vampires, and Raymond, preposterous, that's a terrible idea. It was clearly this person, and just arrest them.
When you say we were talking about ninjas, this reminds me of course, another procedural, not really comedy, cop show. And I immediately have forgotten the name of it, but it's
Castle. Are you
Castle.
Castle.
I'm immediately thinking of Castle, because Castle is like that. And I realised, wait, is Castle written by David Cage? Because sometimes it gets a bit...
Do you know, Castle is a great example of the opposite of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
Right? Because Castle has the same problem, because I love police procedurals. I really do. but it's a case of... do you know what's really annoying to me is when police procedurals stop thinking that police procedural is what the viewer wants to watch.
Yeah, we want to watch. Okay, you want to watch something else.
I mean, the thing is, if I watch CSI and then I watch Castle and then I watch Bones and then I watch Lucifer and then I watch The Mentalist and then I can keep going. I watch a lot of police procedurals about murder, right? Elementary, another one. So I have all these shows, and the thing is. Like the good ones, the ones that keep working, are things like Elementary or Brooklyn Nine-Nine or whatever. But the ones that don't work are things like Bones or Castle, where after a while they're just like, but people surely will be bored with Jeff killed his neighbour. What if when Jeff killed his neighbour it was a secret plot by the Pentagon, who are actually aliens, who actually are ninjas, who turns out are from the moon? No, it's boring. We wanted to watch you solve murders. You don't need to do this. Like, what's so stupid is they go bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they go so big it's stupid. Like, I've literally watched... I loved Castle. I watched every season up until the season with the ninjas in it, and that was so stupid that I've never managed to finish the show. Because the quality of each episode just plummeted. I think it was about season 6. It was after, like, they tried... writing the characters to go to the FBI and then gave up and just went, nope, sod it, they're all back in the LAPD again. That's fine. Or the NYPD. I can't remember where it's set. I think it is New York. But no, it's a case of when you're writing something that big and then you go, oh no, now we're going to have to write the next episode even bigger. Let's have ninjas in it. It's stupid. It's just nonsense. Whereas 9-9 doesn't fall into that trap because while it isn't, it's a comedy, not a police procedural, and their cases don't get bigger. That's the thing. It isn't a case that by now Jake's every case is about random ninjas or aliens or the Pentagon or conspiracies or the FBI are involved.
Yeah, although they do big ones
on a grounded level. Even when they're doing big cases, they're big cases that make sense for an LAPD detective or a NYPD detective to be involved in. I don't know why I'm obsessed with LA at the minute.
I do think, what was it, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they do have a tendency to build up, though, a big bad guy. They'll have, like, these mini-arcs with this big bad guy, and because of how their show works out, they solve them in an episode. And I have heard people who review Brooklyn Nine-Nine saying it's a bit disappointing that they build up this bad guy and he just gets dealt with. But I'm fine with that. You know, you remember Jimmy the Butcher?
Yeah.
And we spent like a whole several episodes and everything, and I thought it was actually pretty well taken care of. And they just lure Jimmy the Butcher into a thing, and we have a whole family get together. They lure him into an arcade, that's it, and they have like a family Home Alone fight.
Yeah, but I think the thing about that is when you're complaining about that, you're thinking of not you personally, because I know you're not the one complaining, but I'm saying when one complains about that, you're wanting things to be much more narrative than real life. And I know from TV you're likely to want that, but it's the same way that, you know, how if you arrest Lex Luthor, he's always going to escape. The Joker is always going to escape. Whereas actually, do you know the reason why we haven't arrested Jimmy the Butcher? It's because we don't have the evidence to convict Jimmy the Butcher. Oh, look, we've managed to get evidence on Jimmy the Butcher. I guess now we've convicted Jimmy the Butcher. That's how police work works. Like, you may, like Al Capone. They knew for years that Al Capone was a criminal and paid these people off and did this and did that. Everybody knew, and that's fine. Everybody knows. But you don't have any evidence. You're not going to get a conviction. And then you get a conviction, and he's not involved anymore. Like, Al Capone didn't become a recurring enemy for the Chicago police force once they'd actually arrested and sent into prison. Generally speaking, once someone has been sent to prison, that's it. You're done. Because even if, like, either they serve their time, at which point you didn't get them well enough because you didn't get enough evidence to send them in for long enough, or they don't serve their time, they escape, at which point you have the grounds to arrest them immediately. You don't have this nonsense about... You don't have to
back
build
and forth sort of thing.
No, you don't. It's the police. It's a case of, do we know he's a bad guy? Yes. Can we prove it? No. Okay, let's spend several episodes dealing with that problem. Can we prove it? Yes. Good. It's fixed.
Well, you got to remember,
we're done.
While you talk about, there are plenty of things that in Brooklyn Nine-Nine that are very much not like how police work seems to be. As in, we have a bunch of police officers who are genuinely concerned with the safety of the public, which is something that I used to believe was very true, and I'm becoming increasingly disillusioned with.
Depends on your country, but some places more than others, I would say.
I think they're trying very hard to make the characters in this modern time seem believable and likeable as police officers and everything, who are, let's not forget, we're dealing with police officers in the US who are armed as a matter of course, like a majority of the time.
That I can never get past that. Like, it makes me so uncomfortable whenever I'm in America. Just the idea that everyone around me could have a gun, and a lot of them do. Like, when I go to the station in the UK and there's been a terror alert, so there are like armed people with guns in the station, I feel so uncomfortable and have to get out of there like immediately. I hate being around like guns. Just the idea that something that horrifically deadly is just there with someone who is a fallible human being creeps me out to the nth degree. Like, the idea of being in America, like, even because I don't have a problem with the police, and it's that thing of, I was just walking in town yesterday and there were these police talking to somebody there, and just the idea that they would have had guns if I was in America just sort of weirds me out,
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, in a way, all police are still armed with the permit to commit violence on behalf of the state, regardless.
Yeah,
at their discretion.
Yes, and I have a lot less of a problem with that than I do of the permanency of shooting someone.
Well, yeah, it's permanent, but it still means that they can seriously mess up someone else's life with increasingly little like evidence.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that, and I know there are several problems in the system, but giving anyone guns is always something that makes me uncomfortable. But
oh yeah, I don't know, because this is the thing. It's not the guns in of themselves that scares me. It's like the guns with the permit to use them on behalf of the state, with only the person's discretion, which is often incredibly like dodgy discretion, as we keep seeing, particularly in the US, where they only have to prove that they perceived someone as a potential threat, then that's fine.
But the thing is, I understand that. Like, if you were saying, okay, it's okay for you to shoot people if you think that they may be a threat to you, I'm quite scared of guns. I'd probably shoot people if I wasn't 100% sure as well, because the idea that I'd be shot if I didn't would be foremost in my head. And like, that's one of the major reasons I'd never want to be a police officer in the US, because I'm almost certain I'd shoot someone who was unarmed because I thought they might be armed, and then I'd feel really horrific for the rest of my life and feel so guilty about it.
Well, exactly, but a lot of these people don't feel guilty about it and do it quite often, sometimes in their own homes. So that's why people have taken like an increasingly dimmer view towards the police as just an institution in the US and the rest of the world, and why it's hard to try and have like a happy, hey, we're all a family police procedural comedy like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But I'm not the sort of person to just immediately throw it away. And like I said, I'm not, while, like I have like definite negative views of the police of recent years, I don't think I'm in the position quite yet to say, oh, dump all of it, dump all institutions of state violence immediately.
Robots are the answer.
Replace them all with robots. Replace them all with robots of... I've forgotten the guy who plays Connor's name, but if they replace them all like that, that would be fine.
Exactly. This is the thing. Like, it's that, the RoboCop argument. I'm fully aware the film was made in the 80s, but do you know what they were saying? Like, the public will never accept a machine unilaterally pulling the trigger. They've got to have a human soul making the final decision. And therefore, we're going to have, like, this guy who's also technically a person, but he's still a robot and has all the benefits of that. I'm like, I don't want a human's involvement. Humans are really much more fallible than machines. You just get to the point where you can get, much better facial recognition and gun recognition, for example. And also,
really?
Robots don't... Well, more so than humans, and
Really?
robots don't mind if you shoot them.
Robots generally don't notice a whole race of people at the moment.
Yeah, I said better facial recognition. I wouldn't do it now. My facial recognition app on my bloody tablet barely opens when I look at it half the time, especially if I wake up with my hair slightly different. No, I'm not saying that level. I'm talking like, let's fix facial recognition and, all of that. Because I do think part of the thing is you shoot first when you're worried about being shot. If you're a robot and you're basically one big bulletproof armor thing, you're hardly going to worry too much about being shot before you're 100% certain that person is taken down. And also, you don't have to give them lethal rounds. Give the robots. Give the robots tasers. Give them...
Tasers can kill people.
I know tasers can kill people, but do you know what's worse than tasers is bullets?
Yeah, it is bad. I'm just saying that it's not often a simple solution. Like, we say, give them tasers, and tasers means that you're just opening it up for people to be tortured very often, and loads of people have died from taser misuse.
No, I'm fully aware of that, and I'm not saying tasers is the solution. I'm saying benevolent robots is the solution.
Well, yeah, the thing is, we still don't have a benevolent...
Asimov is the solution.
A benevolent robot, because, like, a lot of the people that make and program robots today have their own massive biases, which are reflected in the robots that they make and program.
Yes. Such as you said, the facial recognition app only being tested when it was being designed on specific people, leading to a complete fallibility in other areas.
Well, yeah, the Tesla, like, one thing that we've seen, I'm not sure how 100% it is, but it wouldn't surprise me, is, Tesla cars don't see black people at all.
Really?
Yeah, they don't slow down. They just plow over. As in, it doesn't activate.
I shouldn't laugh. But,
it doesn't activate their got to avoid this sensor. So, like, people have been hit occasionally by Teslas.
I was more thinking the recent example being NASA only having one woman-sized spacesuit.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we can't have the historic 2 women go out on a spacewalk because we only have one suit, which will fit them. But following that, I was reading an article about, how annoying it is that everything is sized for the typical man.
Yeah.
Which then means that it isn't sized for the typical woman, or even the atypical woman. Generally speaking, everything's not quite the right shape or size for them.
So Brooklyn Nine-Nine...
Yeah, so Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There's women in that, typical women, who are wearing outfits. Oh, body armor, there's another one. Apparently, women do not fit in body armor properly, and loads of female police officers don't wear it because it's either painful or causes major problems with like posture or their back or something like that. And quite a lot of people have been killed when they were meant to be wearing body armor because they just don't, because the body armor doesn't fit them. But nobody in this show has been shot and killed so far who's been on the force.
Indeed.
Hooray.
Whee. Not yet.
Also, nobody has accidentally done a bad shooting.
I was just dividing it up, and sadly, if you remove Hitchcock and Scully... if you remove Hitchcock and Scully and keep Gina, which she isn't a regular on the show anymore, they actually did have a 50-50 male-female split.
When it was first out, Series 1 did have a 50-50 split.
Yeah. And, which is quite nice. And they do occasionally investigate, like, certain things about... There was a very serious episode this season, wasn't there, about harassment and everything, and the difficult way in which you have to navigate it. And in general, it wasn't just a police thing, because they were investigating harassment in, like, an investment bank. And I loved how they just went bonkers, because that's the nice thing about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It does like the spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down sort of stuff, where everyone in the investment banking thing was a massive hedonistic party animal. And like whenever they were
with the person who'd been harassed,
slightly at least, she said sort of like, you're not, I've got to go to the keg parties, otherwise that's where all the decisions get made. And like even the guy who gave them the evidence was like, "Nah, I'd get a promotion if you got rid of this guy."
Yeah, which it's not the best reason, but I'd rather people were taken down for the abuses of power they commit than not. So I'll take the win, which I think is the attitude the show had, and I like it. It's sort of a nice sort of pragmatic approach. But no, it's definitely developed a lot and changed, as you say, it's changed his attitude, because at the beginning it was all, kind of being dicks to each other and dealing with the fact that you're a bit angry at certain other people in your office because they're trying to steal your promotion or something like that.
And needless competitiveness and everything.
Yeah.
Jake and Amy, their first major storyline is who's going to make more arrests. And if Jake makes more arrests than Amy, he gets to take her out on a date. And he deliberately takes her out on like a ridiculously...
The worst date.
Horrible date.
Yeah.
And then during that period, he realises, he really likes her. And it's like the whole validation of like, if a boy's being nasty to you, and he's just paying attention to you because he really deep down likes you. Which we all know is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And what's nice is they slowly change Jake. And one of the fun things they do to change Jake to make him nicer is he will just occasionally say something. I don't know if it's something that Andy Samberg actually does, because I've seen him do it like at the Golden Globe awards as well, where he'll like say something and then literally just like list very quickly like a horrible aspect of society in it.
I think the thing is, I never didn't like Jake. I know that there were these problems, and they were deliberately trying to make him not a hero that you'd likeable. But I think that might partially be because I'm kind of quite a big fan of Andy Samberg from things like
Saturday Night Live,
The Lonely Island and everything. Because this is the thing, I'd look at even when he's played horrible characters or characters, I'm just like, I'm sort of going, if that was played by someone else, I might hate that character. Because I look at, the first series of Cuckoo, where he plays Cuckoo.
Yeah.
I look at, Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. Mm-hmm. And Connor for Real is a horrible human being, but I still don't dislike Connor for Real.
Yeah.
Because I don't dislike Andy Samberg. I like Andy Samberg to a level which allows me to, think kindly about all characters he's ever played, ever, no matter what the character does. In the same way that sort of thing happens in reverse. Like, I tried watching Baby Driver after all the Kevin Spacey stuff came out.
Ooh.
And it's just like, even though the character in Baby Driver, he's sort of an anti-hero, and he sort of has this redemption moment at the end where you're like, I suppose he really was sort of nice all along. And I was just there like, no, he's still a dick.
I'm glad he got hit by a car.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. You do that, and like, it's like try watching Pirates of the Caribbean, and you might have quite liked Captain Jack, and now I'm just like, Captain Jack's a sort of prick who'd beat his wife.
Well, what was it? Apparently, in the most recent one, he had a lot of his lines fed to him through an earpiece.
Why? Because he
couldn't be bothered to remembering them. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, that's doesn't surprise. Once you get that famous and they can't do the show, I mean, they can't make those films without him. So
they're trying to. I hear they're trying to come up with something.
Really? Yeah. Well, I don't know. Anyway, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
No, I like Jake. I like Jake because I think you're right though. At the beginning, he's a bit of a problem with his character as written, just because, as you say, his personal skill set and his professional skill set, where they should overlap, they do not. And that is a bit weird now that you mention it.
Yeah.
That someone can be that good of a cop without having anything together. But I think...
Same thing with like JD and Scrubs. Oh God, we're going on a tangent again. It's like...
Tangenting is our thing.
Yeah,
Deal with
I
it.
don't think that he's like... I think a lot of JD's weird personal issues would interfere with him being a doctor way more than Scrubs made it out to be.
Do you know, though, just talking of Scrubs, I actually, looking back, JD is never shown as actually being particularly good.
No, he's never been super good at all. No, he wasn't.
I just know.
Not like the way that Jake is shown being a surprisingly good police officer.
Yeah, Jake is shown to be an exceptional police officer, like a considerably above average detective. And I look at JD from Scrubs and I just kind of go, JD from Scrubs, he passed his exams and he's become a doctor and he's doing... But at no point does he, like, the leader of his field. I mean, if you said there's...
Because they make him a diagnostician, don't they? He's just in diagnostic medicine.
Is he?
You know what? They never really give JD a solid focus,
do
they? Everyone else focuses on something, except for him.
Yeah. He's like, I do doctoring. People come in and I doctor them. Okay, sure, whatever. But no, this is the thing of like, he ended up just kind of being there. Like, the thing people said was his major skill was basically his bedside manner. And that was pretty much it.
Which isn't good. He's a neurotic, horrible person.
Yeah. Oh, he's such a nasty person. I think that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Is that also, I liked Jake. I never liked JD. JD drove me insane watching Scrubs because he was such a prick.
Yeah.
And he was so horrible. Also, right, do you know, JD was a great example of the Ross problem.
Yes.
When the show wants you to like someone, but their actions means they're a fucking ridiculously horrible person. I don't know how anybody could say they like the character Ross from Friends. I'm sorry. The things he does, oh God, the things he does, the things he says, the things he believes, everything, it's awful. But no, JD, the entire plot line of like the 3rd or 4th season or whatever was that he's gone out with the blonde doctor whose name eludes me, and it's gone badly, and that they've broken up, and then that she's got with someone else, and then she's now going to be happy, and then she's got engaged, and he's like, do you know what? I made a huge mistake. I want to be with her. I'm going to destroy her current relationship. And he's like, he destroys her current relationship. He like gets her to run away with him and have sex during, I think it's like her wedding rehearsal dinner, and then decides that they're going to be together. And then they go and they have sex, and she goes, oh, you've got me. You finally got me. And then he looks at the camera and the monologue goes, oh God, I don't want her anymore. Like, this entire plotline was basically him being a child who can't stand someone else getting to play with his toys. That's the whole plotline.
And let's not forget,
and you're still meant to like this character because he's treating her not as a human being but as a goal, to just deciding he wants her because somebody else gets to have her. It's just, he's such a horrible human being.
Which is very similar to what Ross did, of course.
Yes, no, it's... sorry, I could probably do an entire episode about why Ross from Friends is a horrific human being.
Haven't we already done that? We haven't done a thing about how horrible Ross is.
I've mentioned it a few times because I rewatched Friends as we were doing some of these episodes, and I think it came up a few times because I'm almost constantly angry about it. So, I don't think, it's just... So
I think if you follow... That's true, though, but if you think about it, if you follow these similar workplacey, friend, found family-y comedies, situational comedies that have been popular. I mean, because loads of comedies get made, it's important to remember, and they've had loads of settings. But I would say, actually, if we look at Friends, and then Scrubs kind of appeared on the tail out of Friends, and like Scrubs was solidly dead by the time Brooklyn Nine-Nine came out. These and they both have like a similar like silly, quasi-farcical nature to them.
Yeah,
it could almost be seen
trying to deal with serious stuff,
like the germination. Although I would stick Parks and Recreation between Scrubs and that, and also Community. Actually, Community as well. Okay. So if we follow this thing, it's nicer if we look at like the main character who is kind of a jerk, slowly changing into being less of a jerk until we finally get to Jake Peralta, played by Sandberg at the end.
Do you know? Because I would actually say put How I Met Your Mother in there as well. The main character, I quite like the fact that the main character is kind of a jerk in the first few series, but he acts like he's not. He almost does a Ross. He talks about how great he is, and everyone talks about how great he is, and he actually behaves kind of appallingly. But then about the midway through How I Met Your Mother, it's like season 5 or so, he looks back and he's just like, do you know? Because he actually has a whole feast of camera. He's like, I'm glad I didn't meet your mother when I was that age, because I said I was wanting a relationship, and I said I was ready, and I was horrible. And it then does like a montage of all the horrible things he did, and the show just totally owns him turning around and going, as an older, more mature person, I look back and go, oh my God, was I scum. And then I worked really hard to become a nicer person.
Exactly.
So I think, whereas I think, and because that was the first show I remember doing that, having the main male character be kind of a dick, but then owning it. Whereas, as you say, Friends and JD from Scrubs and all of this sort of stuff, they just kind of went, yeah, our character's kind of horrible, but, you like them, don't you? Because it's a funny show, and we forgive anybody for being funny.
Ross even wasn't that funny.
No, he wasn't. I forgive Chandler's occasional
bullshit
problems, because Chandler was funny and generally didn't do anything unforgivably horrible. There were some problematic moments, mostly in the homophobia or
Friends is creepily homophobic.
Things. Yeah. Oh no, it is. Yeah, and the stuff about his father in Vegas as well, which I'm not sure quite where that goes in terms of things, but no. This show is quite nice.
Yes.
This show is trying to do better.
Yeah. I just think it's a good time, because we're reaching like the end of an episode, to say, the one thing we can show, since we've mostly not talked about the other characters, but have talked about Jake, is that Jake, as the not really central character, but the default central character, like...
He was in the first few series, I think. He's not anymore.
Yeah, shows like a definite sense of personal growth, both in terms of like them just writing him better, but also like him generally trying to be a better person. And it's achieved by being friends with other characters who we'll be talking about next time on the LHC.
9-9.
9-9.